All right. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the S.L.A.P in VR. So called because I am your host, Vincent Rodriguez, and here we talk all things sports, life, and people. Today, I am honored to have a very infamous guest if you're a Boise State fan, because you've probably seen his game day videos pop up in your Instagram feed. To friends and family, he's known as Tio Chucho, but here I just like to introduce him as Mr. Robert Pacey. How are you doing today?
Vinny, very good. Thank you. Thank you so much for calling. How are you?
Good. I'm glad to have you on. I had to have you on, of course. Not only just the, connection here with everything, but also just you have a vast, doing my research, you have a vast, wide thing beyond just being the uncle of a former Boise State player. I mean, there was a lot that I had to dig into, and I don't even know if I'm going to do it justice, but I had to have you
Oh,
on. Of
thank
course,
you.
I did.
Thank you.
So I guess we'll just start at the top, just kind of running everything through, because I know it was a big weekend for you with Canada and Colombia both being in the World Cup.
Mhm.
How was that kind of weekend played out, and where did those kind of interesting roots kind of come from?
Well, to your first question, it was a long weekend, that's for sure. Lot of partying, a lot of celebrating, and then a lot of commiserating for Canada. And we come by both those teams. Honestly, my mother was Colombian and first generation Canadian. My father was from England. Born in Canada though, so his family's English. Yeah, so those are our two teams, Canada and Colombia, and a little bit of England, except when they play against Mexico. It's a tough one.
So I'll go forward a little bit and then going back because it kind of all ties
Mhm.
together. So I've been seeing recently on your Instagram posts and all the stories that you have that you started carrying around a little picture of, I'm assuming, your dad in a little Polaroid in your wallet and everything. Where did that kind of tradition start, and what kind of inspired you to start doing that?
Well, it actually started after my parents passed. They both passed from cancer, and I started doing fundraising for cancer research. And then I thought, I'm going to get a picture taken with me and my mom and dad um, whenever I can while I'm riding. And then it just sort of went from there. It's like, you know what? They would be here if they were still with us. So we would take pictures with the little photo. I just have it. It's on my desk. It's a photo of my mom and dad back in the day, and we pull it out every now and then, and just remind everybody that they're still with us.
What would you say is the funnest or like craziest place you've ever taken the picture?
The Fiesta Bowl. That was insane. Like both Fiesta Bowls, right? So uh incredible, crazy. And then also we did it at Albertsons, on the blue field. The first time we went there, they came with us in spirit, and so that was also a great place to do it.
So I ask all that just to kind of lead into this because I mean, not only are you obviously a fantastic uncle and clearly a Boise State fan because of your nephew, but also you founded or co-founded with your father. From what I understand, is like a design company or stuff like that. Walk me
Yeah.
through that whole process and what kind of inspired that creation of the Pacey and Pacey.
Well, my father was quite a well-known graphic designer, Canadian graphic designer. And when he semi-retired, he was still active, like he was still creating things, but he didn't have a clientele. And I was transitioning from university to freelance design myself. And I thought, well, why don't we get together and see what it's like to work together? And it was fabulous. And we worked together for 20 years as Pacey and Pacey.
What would you say in that time together was your most like dynamic or influential design?
Oh wow, we did a lot of stuff together. I think one of our biggest was branding the UBC Library Development Office, Comox Valley. They've recently changed it since then, but that was a big one because that was a whole community. It was a city, it was a community. It was aspects of all of their businesses had to be under one umbrella. So that was probably the biggest one, I think, Comox Valley.
And then from your perspective, what would you say are the trademarks of a Pacey and Pacey design? Like when you look at one of those designs made, what would you say like that stands out as a Pacey and Pacey design?
Well, I would hope that it's Dad had his list of criteria. It would have to be uh, it would have to be clever in that it would tell a story about the company, not just be flashy. It would work in black and white as well as color, because back in the day, color was expensive. Now we just take it for granted. You look at some of the posters that are being produced now is like 42 colors and it's all digital, so it doesn't matter. So we'd have clever and concise, black and white, and timeless. I would say that if it still looks as good today as it did then that's a good Pacey logo. I'll say Pacey logo rather than Pacey and Pacey design.
Well, I would assume you say that because you've taken a lot of those traits and applied it to, with the legacy that you've carried on in your designs. So,
Sure.
as far as your work is concerned, what would you say are some of your unique trademarks and maybe some of the designs that you've done that have stood out?
That's interesting. In the last couple of years, I've found a niche in squash, the sport of squash. Whether it's because of the build up to 28 Olympics, I've been playing squash for 20 years, had my own clothing company, and so I've been doing a lot of squash related logos lately. And the biggest one is well, there's two right now that are current. One is the World Junior Squash Championships, which is happening in like I think 2 weeks in Ontario, and that's global. That's World Squash. So I designed that logo, and then the other one is World Squash Day, which is in October. It's a yearly event, and I'm teaming up with some really big players this year: World Squash, Professional Squash Association, and we're putting on together a 1 day event to sort of celebrate the game and grow it at the grassroots level.
So, in your passion for squash, is that what's kind of led to the creation of the Squash Republic?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I first started playing squash, I remember looking around thinking, okay, well, what do squash players wear? And not seeing any brands around. So then I created the brand Squash Republic just for me and my friends, and then it kind of grew from there.
And then, so, I've never heard of squash. Kind of walk me through that. What are kind of the characteristics of a squash game and what is squash all about?
Well, I mean, I guess people would say that squash is akin to racquetball, sort of tennis, possibly side by side, though, because you're in a box. So the box is similar to racquetball, but it's much more intense. We like to tell people that it's the healthiest sport in the world. That was a title that Forbes gave us years ago, but it's an intense game. It's fast paced. You need to be quick on your feet and mentally aware of everything that's going on. And it's a great workout. And, there's usually a good beverage after, if you know what
Now
I
I'm
mean.
starting yeah. Now I'm starting to see where all the athletic genes came from between you playing squash, between between your sister Ty's mom being a police officer, and then
Well,
David being an ex
AJ
NFL
was a
player.
soccer player too.
Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
Ty's mom, AJ, was a pretty serious soccer player in her day as well. I mean, everybody knows about David's career, but AJ was quite an athlete. Is quite an athlete. She's a pickleball star now.
We're just running the gambit of just the entirety of the athletic spectrum: American football, squash, soccer, volleyball. eh, I mean,
Yeah,
you name it, you guys have done it. What do you think
exactly.
that? What do you think that kind of? What do you think that athleticism came from to carry on for that long?
Well, I mean, for us, it was just always fun. The games were always great. My parents wanted to keep us active, so they introduced us to squash when we were kids. They put us in every sport that we wanted to play, and AJ did it the same. AJ and David did the same thing with Ty and Addie. So they wanted to play basketball. They played basketball, soccer, sure, volleyball, running. You bet, they did it
Do
all.
you think? Do you think if we got you onto the gridiron or to the volleyball court, you would stand a chance?
Probably not. I have challenged Ty a couple of times to race, but I mean, if he got hurt chasing his uncle, it would look bad.
So you mentioned fundraising for cancer research and everything, and I would say you're probably
Yeah.
one of the few progenitors of doing the social media movement before it was even a thing when you started doing the series Luna and Chairs. Kind of walk me through
Mm.
that whole thing and the inspiration, because I know it came from, your wife starting to have her cancer scare, and then it's just, hey, let's just take pictures of this random stuff in the alleyway with the dog. But that kind of blew up into this big thing. You started posting it, so kind of walk me through all that.
Well, Luna was our beloved Lusky, Labrador Husky, and you're right. My wife had a cancer scare. She had breast cancer actually, and while she was recovering, I was also training our puppy Luna to do things. And one day, I taught her how to jump up onto a rock, and she did really well and really easily. And then I saw a chair when I was walking her one day, and I said, "Hey, up on the chair," and she did. So I took a picture of it because it was hilarious and I shared it with my wife, and she thought it was the funniest thing she'd ever seen. So that became our job. Luna and I would go out every morning, go for a walk, find a chair to jump on, and there's lots in the alleys of East Vancouver. Everybody's got chairs and couches in the alley, and they get taken. But and we'd come home and share these photos with Di and help with her recovery. And then we were noticed by someone who actually worked as a journalist. She was walking down the alley herself and saw me and Luna, took a picture, shared it on some social media channel. And then, the next thing I know, it's on BuzzFeed, it's on Can I Has Cheeseburger, and it just became this like huge thing. it was it was definitely the most viral I've ever been.
I was gonna say, did you? I mean, obviously, no one ever expects it to happen, but did it really take you aback at just how fast it skyrocketed into kind of that internet
Oh yeah.
culture?
Oh no, Vinny, it was just something I was doing for my wife. And it was something that sort of kept things light when everything was really, really dark. And yeah, I guess it kind of made sense because we were also raising funds for cancer research. So, there was that aspect to it that gave it some legs. And yeah, it was overwhelming, but it was a lot of fun for sure.
So, out of all the pictures that you took, what would you say is your favorite of all time?
My favorite of all time is probably when we were invited onto CTV News and um, the co-host Anne Lou tried to get Luna to stand on her back live on TV, and I was like, I didn't think it was going to happen, but she got up halfway and then stopped and looked at me and was like, I can't do this. And I was like, okay, I took a picture. That's all we got. That was all we need. So that was my favorite, I think.
There is the BuzzFeed article about you guys is still actually up. Almost a decade later, it's still up online.
Wow, wow, that's good to know. I didn't know.
This guy's this guy's taking goofy photos of his dog posing on chairs to raise money for cancer research.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Even a decade later, you're still famous on the internet.
Perfect. I like it.
Now, I would be remiss if I didn't run through just a little bit, since we're talking about the past, running through a little bit of a fun quiz here. Because another interesting thing that I found that's still up online is your blogger profile.
Whoa. I didn't even did I have a blogger? Oh boy, are you gonna embarrass me, Vinny? I don't even know what's up there.
Kind of. I'm just going to ask if you even remember the four things that you
Okay.
listed as your favorite music.
Favorite music? I bet you. I hope I said Devo. I might have said the Smiths. Who else would I have said favorite music? Carlos Vives, maybe something Spanish or Colombian. What did I say?
I'll give you two of those. You said Chicago
Okay.
House, Electronica, 80s, and Nerdcore.
Okay, well, 80s for sure, and Chicago House always. Um, Nerdcore, I don't even. I'm gonna have to look
That
that up
technically,
again.
Devo technically counts as Nerdcore, I would say.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's still on there on Blogger since October 2007.
Sheesh, is Blogger still going? Is it still a thing, or is it all like Internet Archive now?
I believe it's all internet archived.
Well, I'll go check it out reestablish my profile.
So, um, so now we come all the way to mostly current day. And
Yeah.
so the kind of backstory behind all this is the fact that, you know, college football allowed players to wear the number 0. That just became something I was fascinated with. I'm a Boise State fan, so I was like, okay, let's start mingling or talking with and, having fun interactions with some of the players to wear 0. JL Skinner was first, and CJ Taylor was second. And then we come all the way to Ty Benefield rocking the number 0. When Ty said he was going to wear the number 0, I reached out to him on Instagram and I sent him a message and I was like, hey, like, would it be okay if I got your signature on something and all this type of stuff? And he said, yeah,
Hmm.
for sure, send it my way. And then I got to meet him at the spring game not long after that. And I had like a few mini gifts and everything that I gave to him. So that goes through the whole season. And then it culminates in heading to the LA Bowl that one day. And I had just seen the day, like literally that morning, I had just seen your video that you posted on your Instagram story of you jumping into the pool with that helmet.
Yeah.
And that's how I remember. That's
That
how I
was
remembered
cool,
you when
dude.
I saw you. Yeah, that's how I recognized you when I saw you walking by. Where did that whole tradition kind of start of doing the pool, of mowing the lawn, of using the hammer, of all this type of stuff? Where did that whole thing kind of start?
I'm trying to remember. There's a couple of things in that story. Like for us, when he got the 0, that's when things started to get real. That's when we're like, wow, Ty's getting some notice here. Like if they want to give him the 0, it's a big deal. So that was kind of fun. And then the game days started because uh I got a helmet. Ty gave me a helmet during Red Zone at Kids Fest, which is the annual football tournament that his dad runs for kids and adults, which is really great. And that's coming up in August, so we'll have to get you to pay attention to that. So I decided, you know what? I've got this helmet now. I got to make use of it. So I thought, okay, what I'll do is I'll do like a video on game day and pretend that I'm doing my chores in my helmet. And so it started with me mowing the lawn in my helmet, trimming a hedge in my cooking breakfast. And I think it went as far as like having a shower in my helmet was a good one. And then I would tag Boise State football and I would tag Ty and it was more to just make him laugh a little bit on the day, so that it wasn't always like just so intense. It was like it's game day, but Tio's gonna do a video and it'll be funny and I get to relax a little bit during that. So that's where it came from.
What would you say was your favorite
And I
one that
did
you
it for
shot?
every game. Sorry?
What would you say is the favorite one that you shot?
I think it was the one in the shower because I had to have my wife help me with that one because I mean I was just setting up a camera and videotaping and it worked with most of it, but that one I wanted it to pan, past, and I would also set up photos and the flag, and I wanted it to pan to me singing in the shower, and we had to do it a couple of times because I was having a shower, and we can only show so much on Instagram.
So actually, that you there's a couple of things actually now that I remember I have to ask you. So, because where did the nickname come from? Where did Tio Chucho come from?
Oh, that's a good question. When Ty was born, my sister said, "What do you?" We were talking. They're getting older, and Daddy was around, and she said, "What do you want the kids to call you? Do you want them to call you Tio Roberto?" And I said, "Well, it just sounds so. It sounds so boring. It sounds so normal. Like, I remember we had a Tio Chucho when we were kids. So I said, "Well, what do you think about Chucho? Like." It's kind of fun. It's like Tata. My dad, the kids called my dad Tata, and they called my mom Ita, so like abuelita. And I said, well, and then I'll be Tio Chucho. And she's like, okay, sure. So we just, as they grew up, they always knew me as Tio Chucho.
What does Chucho actually mean?
I believe it's a nickname for someone named Jesus. So
Oh, okay. Huh.
yeah,
I never knew that. I was asking anybody I knew who speaks Spanish, like, do you know what this means? 'Cause I was just curious. Like, I had never knew what it meant.
yeah, yeah.
And then you also too, because I never heard it from this perspective, but I was just curious because you mentioned it. What
Mhm.
was the because you mentioned like the number 0 being a big thing. What was that? What did you hear on your end about that? Because I just knew it as just something that a few players started wear, but I never knew there was some reasoning or something behind it.
Well, I believe it was J.L. Skinner had sort of mentioned Ty on either Twitter or Instagram, like the next J.L. Skinner. And that was, I'm not sure if J.L. said it about himself, but, or someone said, hey, this kid could be the next J.L. Skinner. And then I remember seeing, like, hey, he should be the next Zero. I wonder if JL would let him be the next Zero. And then, I mean, I don't know the details, but that was the impression I got, was that it slowly came around and it was like given to him by JL Skinner.
Huh. I hmm, I never knew that.
Is that
Because I knew that.
that might not be the case? And I'm sure Ty's rolling his eyes right now if he's watching and I'm wrong.
No, that does sound about right from everything that I know about the relationship with his teammates that Ty had. He always cites like him and Sehi as like two of his big brothers. So that does sound
Yeah.
about right.
Well, sure. And he started as 20. That's where this t-shirt comes from, buck 20.
And then so he wore 0 at Boise State, and then now he's rocking number 2 with LSU. So that all works out.
Yeah, I think he wanted to do something different when he went to LSU, so 2 seemed a good compromise.
And then so I don't know if you've kept up with it at all, but have you seen who's going to be the new 0 for this season?
I did see something really in passing, but I don't know the player's name.
Dylan Riley.
Oh, Riley, that's right. Yes, that's fabulous. We know Dylan Riley.
I know. I was going to say I couldn't think of anybody better, especially considering what he went through the past year. Like I think he's going to do it fantastic justice.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great next player for that, for sure.
I'm only a little bit mildly upset because I literally just bought this last season. Now I have to go get another one.
I've got mine right here. I've got so many orange shirts. I have so many Boise State hoodies and hats and buffs and cups and glasses and yeah, yeah. That's why it's like, you know what? I'm putting it all out. I'm still a Bronco until the first game at LSU.
Well, pointing out that jersey, that's a great transition because now we can talk about that. So, me and my friend, we go to the LA Bowl. We get front row seats and everything, and You know, I had been to SoFi Stadium before for a bowl game, the other LA Bowl against UCLA a few years before, and I remembered like, oh yeah, there really wasn't a good place to like see the players and everything and all that. So I'm just like, whatever happens, happens. So me and my friend were waiting in the lot with, where you saw us, we were waiting in the lobby there and everything, just trying to figure out like, where's everybody going to go? They're going to go outside. Where's the meetup spot, right? And then I just see you, this guy walking by wearing a number 0 jersey. I'm like, oh, hey, I recognize you. And then we just got,
I remember.
and then we just got it start talking and everything. Walk me through that day from your perspective. Like, what was that kind of whole experience like? And then, ending with just meeting this random guy who's like, oh, hey, I recognize you.
Well, that day was a beautiful day. That was so much fun. I mean, it's the first time we've ever been to SoFi, and it's an unbelievable stadium. It seems like every time we go to something to watch Thai, it's just another level up. Like seeing Albertsons and the blue turf was amazing, was unbelievable, and then SoFi, even better. So yeah, it was a great day. We got to spend it in the suite with the family, and it was a lot of fun. And then being recognized from social media. It's my first time ever being recognized as an influencer. So thank you for that, Vinny. I owe you. Yeah. Hmm.
What was
Hey,
going through
hey,
your
I know
mind?
you.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. I was
it was
like,
the funniest thing because I I saw the zero after you said, "Hey, I know you," and I'm like, "I don't think we do." And you're like, "Yeah, you're Ty's uncle," and I was like, "How do you know that?" I mean, I was wearing a zero, so maybe, I was wearing his jersey, but maybe. And then we talked, and that was great. It was like so much fun.
Yeah, and I absolutely loved it. Like anytime I tell that story, I always start with that, and I always lead in with you. Just we're walking down into the field suite area. Then we just, and I'm just like looking around, like just dumbfounded in awe, like looking at all the players and their families. Then you just, tap me on the shoulder, like, "Hey, watch this!" And you just start shouting, Boise State!" Like that was just so much fun to watch. It was really fun.
Yeah, that was a great day. That was a great day. I'm glad we got to share that together. That was fun.
And I also remember you just like kind of looking at me like, go have fun, go enjoy. And I was just like, "What? Oh, okay, here I go."
Yeah, let's go inside. Whatever, right? Yeah,
Yeah, and I
let's
got
go
to
inside.
meet I got to meet so many I got to meet a Marianne's family, I got to see Dylan and his mom again, I got to meet Coach Dimitri Washington, like, that was just a
Yeah,
blast, and every time I anytime I tell that story, it's just always, like, one of the most premier fantastic experiences I will ever talk about just because of
very cool.
how that all went down just randomly. Because I wasn't expecting anything.
Yeah.
I was looking at AJ the whole time like, "You're sure, right? Like, we're not taking away from anybody else." And she's like, "No, go, 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 go." I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
"Whoa, okay."
She pulled some strings for you, Vinny. Yeah, for sure. She got us the passes, and it was amazing. It was all AJ. I was just like, "Hey, these guys should come in with us, don't you think?" And they just like, "I got this," and took care of
A
it. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Actually, I was gonna ask you, sorry, because I feel like I'm talking about myself a little bit, but this is all just so much
No,
fun.
it's all good.
Did she ever tell you about, what happened, like, a few weeks before in San Diego?
I can't remember
So,
what happened.
I actually got to meet them for the first time in San Diego when they played at SDSU, because I had my friends with
Oh,
me. Yeah, and so we were looking around to kinda see where the players were, and I saw them all right there. So I was just kinda waiting for the moment to come in. So I said hi to Ty, and then I met, David, and then I met AJ at the same time, and we all got to
mhm.
talking and everything. And I actually bought a game issued number 0 jersey off of eBay, like, a couple weeks before. So I had Ty sign it, and I had, David sign it because he was also an ex-NFL
Oh,
player and everything.
cool. Yeah,
So,
that's very cool.
I know, so we just got to start to talking and everything, and, I got a picture with I got a picture with all 3 of them holding up the jersey,
Mm.
and then, AJ saw my friends, kinda waiting, outside, and she's just like, "Come, come, like, make sure Ty gets a picture with all you guys and everything," and I was just like, "Whoa," like, it was on like, honestly, like, that's why I made that video, thanking you guys. I still have it set to
Yeah,
private
that
to
was
this day.
beautiful.
Yeah, because I
Yeah,
had to because you guys pulled out, like, just the most hospitable kindness and everything. It was just a blast.
thanks, man. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And then I'm also curious because I wanna hear from the other perspective of everything 'cause, the funny thing is too in San Diego, what happened was that, like, when I was talking with everybody and everything, my friends walked up to me after and was like, "How do you do that?" And I'm looking at them like, "What are you talking about?" And they said, like, "When you just start talking about, like when you start talking to the parents and everything, you just see them immediately light up because 'cause they're like, because 'cause you're fans of their kid." And it's so
Mhm.
surreal to see. And to me, I'm just like, I'm just being myself and I'm just having fun.
Yeah, it's
But I w
legit for sure.
but I'm kinda interested to hear from what it is from, like, your perspective, kinda hearing about, "Oh, there's this fan here or something that's like a big fan, and he's got number 0," and all that type of stuff. Like, what's that kinda sound like from your perspective?
It's pretty cool actually. You know, it was never strange. It was always um pleasant and surprising. It's like, oh, of course. I think probably the first time I saw it and I felt it was going out for lunch with Ty in Boise and having someone and noticing someone watching us and thinking like, what's going on here? And then they worked up the courage to come over and ask if they could get a picture taken with Ty, and I'm like, what? Really? And it's like, of course, he's a superstar here. Like, of course people want their picture, and then more people would come out, autographs. Yeah, so it's pretty cool, and I love watching him deal with the public in that way because he's so good. He's so great.
And then you mentioned your visit to Albertsons. Funny enough, actually, that was against New Mexico, and one of my
Mhm.
previous guests against one of my previous guests, Mercury Swain, who was on that team, kind of walked me through that because that was your birthday too. So, it's
That was
just
my
funny how
birthday. Yeah,
everything.
that was I think that was the game that Ty got an interception, and I told him that that was my birthday gift, and I really appreciated it. Um, but that was a great game. That was so much fun, and to be there with my wife and AJ, and I can't remember who else was with us, but yeah, and seeing the big blue, and meeting the coaches on family night, very cool. That experience is always going to be part of me for sure.
So kind of walk me through that because I'm curious from your perspective, like what were you expecting or like what kind of was in your mind heading into this place that you hadn't been before and hearing like all this stuff from everybody else about what the experience of game day would be like.
Well, I mean, we knew of Albertsons. We'd followed, well, not followed, but we'd seen Boise State games on college football, on TV. My wife and I are college football fans, so we'd heard of them and we'd seen them, and it would be really great to one day go there, but it wasn't in our wildest dreams that we would ever go there. And when we found out that Ty had signed with them, it was like, oh my God, we're gonna go to the blue field. How amazing is that? And then, getting there, and um the day before, and our first tailgate. We'd never tailgated before. That was amazing. Um, We've met some really amazing people as a result of that. In fact, the fellow that gave me this jersey, Richard Phillips, you should have him on your show. That's a booster for Boise State. In fact, he was just in the Pac-10 video.
Oh
They went
wow,
and
okay.
videotaped his collection. Yeah, he was in the Pac-12, sorry, Pac-12 video. So meeting them, and then the family day before the game, the family night. That was the first time we'd done that. That was really great. So we met a whole bunch of people, like Coach Danielson and Zion and Shea Oladipo was there. Um, yeah. So yeah, and then game day, like unbelievable, unbelievable. Loved it.
So I would guess from your perspective as family, because what would you say are kind of the selling points, or I guess like what if somebody was considering going to Boise State or moving to Boise or something, like what would you say would be the
Mhm.
things you would tell them that they're going to experience and what makes it such a great place?
Well, for us, it was a really friendly place. There was a lot of fun things to do. We swam in the river. We climbed to the top of the mountain with the crosses. I've forgotten the name of it. Um, yeah, what else do we do? There's some great breweries there. That was fun. And the school is gorgeous. The school is gorgeous, and it really feels like a tight knit community. Feels like a great community.
And you're a world traveler. You've gone all kinds of places and everything. So what would you say are some of the funnest places that you've gotten to visit and explore?
We go to Barbados a lot, and I love visiting Barbados. We have been to Colombia a bunch of times, and that's probably going to be our next big trip. Really looking forward to that. And where else have we been? Montreal and Quebec. And I think on our bucket list we have. I want to go to some smaller countries in South America, like Guyana. We want to go to some of the other islands in that area, Trinidad and Tobago, um, Turks and Caicos, that kind of stuff. And then Europe. I mean, I've never been to London. I've never been to Paris, so I want to go there. That'll be on my bucket list.
When you're doing all your travels, is there something that stands out to you that you weren't expecting, or like when you travel also, are you ever surprised by just how things work out when you're going to these different communities?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as far as Boise goes, we were surprised in how much access we had. Thought that was really wonderful. But again, we're family, so we're family of a guy that was on a 2-story tall poster outside of the arena. So he was a big deal. Um, But I mean, you do your planning, so we knew what we wanted to do, and you take advice from people that are there, and hopefully they'll point you in the right place. And most of the times they do.
And then you're an avid cyclist too. So where did that kind of passion come from? And, what is it about cycling that just kind of brings out your passion for it?
Well, so I took up cycling during COVID, actually, because I had to stop playing squash. It was, you play in a box in a room with somebody, and when everybody was reducing their bubbles, and I was like, I can't really do it and keep my parents healthy. They were still with us at the time, so I was like, okay, I'll try and find something a little bit more solitary to do that isn't running, but it is outdoor. And I had a bike from a friend. Tried that and really picked it up. It became something that I could do by myself, a couple of hours, 2, 3 hours, get some good exercise in, really see the city I live in, as opposed to just like zipping past in the car. I could actually stop and take pictures of stuff and get to know my city better, slow vision, if you will. And yeah, and it's really good for you. So now it's a big part of my life.
I was going to say you've been doing a lot of training recently. You're training for an event for to raise money for cancer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah, we're doing it's called Ride On, and that's coming up in August, the middle of August. So I'm training for that. It'll be a 1 day event. I think it's 120 kilometers in that. You'll have to do the conversion. I think that's like 90 miles, 80 miles, something like that. It feels longer. It feels longer in kilometers, but yeah. And so I have a fundraising page, and I'm I think my goal is 5,000 this year, and I'll get there. I'll get there for sure.
What would you say has been the hardest part about your training, for such a long endurance cycle?
It's just consistency. Getting out twice a week, one long, one short ride. I'm dealing with a sort of old knee injury that's poked its head up, so I'm making sure that I'm staying on top of that. And yeah, I'm just trying to get out more often. So I have to do a little bit more cross training, um, uh, weights and training that way rather than just riding. That's my goal, is to pick that up a bit as well.
Is the cycling gonna start featuring in the new game day videos you're gonna do for next season?
I, I'm not sure. I guess it'll depend on how much LSU swag I have by the time game day happens.
Oh my
We'll
god.
have to
I
see.
mean, I know that blue room is gonna turn purple really fast.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Are you thinking of heading out to Baton Rouge to actually see a game?
Yeah, we've got tickets to the home opener. I guess it's like against Clemson.
Ooh, alright. That's gonna be a really fun one to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be something special because I mean, we were there in Boise and Albertsons when it was sold out. So that was the biggest crowd we'd ever seen. And I believe LSU's 110,000 and they sell out. So like I said, it's going to be the next level. It's always the next level with Ty.
How much French are you gonna start learning to prepare?
I have working French. I'm not sure what the French is like in New Orleans. My wife understands and speaks a lot more than I do, so I'll just lean on her.
Fair, totally fair. You guys have been married for, like, what, 27 years, right?
27 years, yeah.
How did that whole thing kinda start?
Gosh, that's an ancient story. We met in Vancouver when I was a hairdressing apprentice. So, and she was a fashion model. Match
Huh.
made in heaven.
Wow, you
A
really
story
are.
for another day. Vinny.
Yeah, I know, fair enough. I mean, you've done it all. I mean, you're designer, cyclist, squash, and you're a hair designer. I mean,
Yeah.
what can't you do?
Oh, please. I have one hair client now, and it's my wife.
I mean, you can't get any better than that, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. So I think we've come close to our end, but as always, I like to wrap it up with this
Cool.
questionnaire here. One of my
Okay. I'll do
inspirations
my best.
was you're all good. So one of my inspirations besides Hot Ones with the depth of research was also Inside the Actor Studio, the old James Lipton show.
Yes.
I think you might. Oh, I
Yes.
think you
Should I
might be
change
the.
outfits?
No, you. I think you might be the only guest who actually probably even knows what I'm talking about. Anytime I bring that up,
Yes, I do.
but
I hope that's not because of my age, but yes, I do remember.
no, it's because you're a well studied man.
Okay, perfect.
But basically, I took most of the questions from the questionnaire that he would always do at the end of the show and kind of tweak them just a little bit. So if you'll humor me, I will just like
Okay,
to go through some of those questions with you.
sure.
Okay. So question one, what is your favorite word?
What is my favorite word? Um, I'm gonna have to say Barranca Merbeja, which is a city in Colombia, and I just love that word.
Okay, fair enough. What is your least favorite word?
My least favorite word, woke.
What turns you on? And you can interpret that however you want. I kept
Energy,
it vague on purpose.
energy, good energy.
What turns you off?
Uh, bad vibes.
What is your favorite curse word?
Uh, hijo de puta. Sorry, you're making me swear.
What brings you peace?
What brings me peace? Um, family.
What riles you up?
Rouse me up. Ignorance.
What job or career other than your own would you like to attempt?
Oh, what job or career other than my own? I'm not sure. I don't know that I have a career I wish I had done. Yeah, I don't know.
That's a good answer because that's a sign of a life very well lived.
Thank you.
What career or job would you not like to try?
Oh, have you ever seen that show? What is it? Bad Jobs or oh yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of jobs that I wouldn't like to try. And I'm glad I haven't had to try.
If there is an afterlife, what would you want to experience when you first arrive?
My parents,
What do you believe is
like
the
to see my
legacy
parents
that you
again.
will leave? Okay. What do you believe is the legacy you will leave behind?
Oh, I hope it's a positive thing. I hope it's that we had as much fun as we could, and met as many people as we could, and that they all felt like they were friends.
And then lastly, if you could share one piece of advice with the world, what would it be?
Go for it.
If you can dream it, believe it, and just go for it.
Yeah, go for it. Take a
I
chance. Take a chance.
I mean, I couldn't have said it better. I couldn't have said it any better myself, and I'm proof positive of that from everything here and getting to talk with you and everything. So
Yeah,
that's advice.
for sure. For
That's
sure you are, Vinny. Yeah,
that's some
for sure
excellent
you are.
advice, and I've heard a lot. Okay, so I think that's just about it. This has been my guest, Robert Pacey. I just wanted to thank you again so much, Tio Chucho. I really appreciate it, and it's just been so fun to catch up with you and talk about everything.
My pleasure. I hope we get to cross paths this season, or
Oh,
maybe season after that. You never know.
I
And then
this is
I've got this in the meantime, so thank you.
Yes, yes. I'm so happy that made it to you okay. I figured I had to at least make something
Yeah,
for you too, and I made it in the
absolutely.
Colombian colors.
And I've got right here up on the wall Photo of the
Yes.
day that we met.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
that's
actually
up
going to
here
be
on my board with Ty. Yeah.
that's actually going to be the thumbnail for the video.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. I look forward to seeing it.
Uh, it'll- yeah. Okay. So this has been Vincent Rodriguez with the S.L.A.P in VR, signing out.